What if you are in possession of the solution to your financial struggles, but you are not just aware of it yet? In this presentation, I will show you in simple steps keys to move you from debt to wealth. We will continue our discussion from where we left off. So far, we have considered three keys to move you from debt to wealth. And today, we will explore three additional keys. But before we dive in, let's do a quick recap. We started out from the story of the prophet Elisha and the poor widow. For those that are not familiar with the story, I would love us to read together. So I'll be reading from Second Kings chapter 4 and verse 1 to 4. I'll be reading from the New Living Translation. One day the widow of a member of the group of prophets came to Elisha and cried out, "My husband who served you is dead, and you know how he feared the Lord. But now a creditor has come, threatening to take my two sons as slaves. What can I do to help you?" Elisha asked. "Tell me, what do you have in the house?" "Nothing at all, except a flask of olive oil," she replied. We'll stop there as we take this discussion further. Okay, so today we'll be looking at three additional keys to move you from debt to wealth. And in our previous discussion, we have looked at three keys. The first, being a good man does not credit your account with money. Second, pray to God for a solution. And the third, stop asking for money from God and even from people. If you would love to get more explanation to that, you can check our last video. Now, the fourth key is convert the idea to a valuable asset. We have established that when God answers your prayer in terms of helping you move from your financial struggles to wealth, He gives you an idea and not necessarily money. Why? Because in heaven, they don't spend money. Money is not printed in heaven. So they could only send what they have up there. And we have established that God is a creator. And if He is a creator, that means that they have ideas in stock. So they send the idea to you, and you are left to convert that idea to a valuable asset that can bring in an inflow of money and cash to you. And this is very important. There's another thing I would love you to understand in terms of idea. Many a times, your idea, people may not believe in it. They may find out that the idea is too simple or probably even too difficult for them to accept. So, at the onset, they may not accept your idea, and that should not discourage you because that is normal. It's normal for people not to accept your ideas. Many ideas that have come to stay were not accepted initially. There's this story of Thomas Edison and Edwin Burns. When Edison came up with an innovative idea in terms of a product called Ediphone, his sales team, they could not accept the idea. They were like, this product is not going to sell. But Barnes accepted the idea, he embraced it, and came up with a plan that sold the product. And in fact, that was what led to the partnership between Barnes and Thomas Edison. So don't be discouraged when your idea is not embraced from the onset. That's important. There's also a concept I would love you to understand in terms of ideas. When the idea drop in your mind, that means that you have conceived that particular idea. And just like a woman, when she conceives, when she gets pregnant, she has a duty, in terms of nurturing the new baby in her womb. And when the idea to get in your mind, you should nurture the baby. Don't let your idea be aborted. Don't have a miscarriage of ideas. So you need to nurture it, you need to care for it so that the idea can grow. And you know what? When you are communicating your idea to other people, they could misunderstand your idea. And that is what is referred to as misconception. So, in a way, you have conceived the idea, you want them to conceive the idea too, likewise, but there is a misconception. They are not conceiving it correctly. So, that's not a problem. With time, when you grow your idea, they would embrace you when they see the result. Is that okay? All right. Now, I have given a previous scenario in terms of if I'm in the United States and you need me to send some money to you. Of course, I'll send it in that currency, that is in dollars. So, if you're in Nigeria, for instance, you need to convert the dollars to naira. Don't forget that money is called currency for a reason because it flows. Money flows in the direction of value and solutions. So if you want money to flow to you, you need to create solutions and you need to create valuable um, assets. Now, your ideas are useless until you act on them. You can have every idea in this world, but it's useless to you and you'll remain broke and poor if you don't act on those ideas. And there's something else, there's no monopoly of ideas. The way an idea is getting or dropping in your mind, likewise, another person is receiving that particular idea. So it's your responsibility to actually act on the idea, and your idea is useless until you act on them. And some of the steps that will help you to actually act on those ideas is that one, you need to learn to document your ideas. This is actually very important. When you conceive an idea, pick up your pen and document it. This helps you to track the idea and this helps you to remember the idea. And of course, it helps you to grow the idea. Don't stop at documenting the idea. You need to actually draw a plan for them. Okay, so you need to draw the plan for the idea in terms of what are the resources that will be required to implement this idea. What was the scope of the idea? All right, what's the time frame for this idea and several other things. So these are actually important to help you transform the idea from the intangible world to what people could see. And people can only pay you for what they could see and what they can benefit them. So, of course, I've established that you should act on your idea. So, let's go to the next key, and this key number 5. What do you have? This is in form of a question. When the poor widow came to the prophet, she gave a narration like a predicament. She expected that the prophet is going to raise a welfare offering for her, so that they pay her debt. But it's something else. The prophet rather asked, what do you have? You know what? The solution to your financial struggles is not a bailout. Many a times, people that depends on bailouts, they don't usually leave the confines of poverty. If you want to leave the confines of lack and poverty, then you need to recognize or look for what you have. Just like the question that the prophet asked the poor widow, what do you have? How can you give what you do not have in exchange for money unless you resort to stealing? You know what? You cannot earn money with what you do not have. You can only exchange, what you have for money. So if you are looking for a way to get money or to earn money by through nothing, that means you want to go steal. You understand? So, do you know why many people are frustrated when it comes to money matters? Is because they want to earn money from nothing or with something they don't possess. And wealth creation does not work that way. So, this is also very important. Imagine if I wanted to earn money, as a lawyer representing someone in a court of law. I wouldn't be able to do that because I am not trained as a lawyer. Probably what I could do is to invest or maybe have a share in a law firm, so that I get a returns from their expertise. Now, you need to stop fantasizing about earning money from a job you don't have at the moment. You don't have to worry about a job you don't have at the moment, because at that moment you don't have it. And since you don't have it, you can't earn money from what you do not have. Instead, you need to make use of what you have at the moment. All right. So if the job opportunity comes later, fine and good. But at the moment, you need to actually find out what is it that you have at the moment that you can actually change to value that will bring in money for you. And we will just go through some possible examples of what you have at the moment, because it seems that none of us is devoid of something that we can exchange, that can be changed to value for an inflow of money. It could be a device at your home. There's this story of a woman that she was sent packing from her job. She was a baker, and while she was narrating her predicament, the man of God she was narrating the predicament to told her, "What do you have at home?" And she said, "Well, I have one holder oven at home also." And the man said, "That's it. That's what you need." And he told her to use her last paycheck to get the materials to for snacks, to bake cakes and all that. And she obeyed, and that small thing that she trivialized, turned into a company, and she began to employ people to bake snacks and cakes and some other things. So, what do you have? It might be a device at home that you do not even value. You may need to take stock of what you have at home. It might be a family enterprise. There's this other story of a man that when he grew up, there was this enterprise, she joins her grandmom to make palm oil. So they do it, they produce it manually. And when he grew up, he turned that enterprise to something big. He mechanized the process. In fact, he was involved in producing or getting the machines respond that will be used to mechanize or to make that process more efficient. And that is it. If he had not thought of that family enterprise, he would have continued to be broke and poor. So you may need to think of what you have in your disposal at the moment. It might be a relationship, it might be a communication skill, it might be your integrity. Same, there's this other story of a man that needs a capital to implement a contract, and he doesn't have anything, but he approached some people, he had some relationships, and he approached them, shared the idea with them, and all that. Because of the relationship and integrity, he was able to get the capital for that contract at a low interest rate, and when he was done with the contract, of course, he returned the money and he made profit. So it might be that what you have is your integrity, all right, or probably a relationship, or probably a communication skill. Okay, the other thing that you might have that you might trivialize might be a skill, it might be a talent, it might even be your time. So you might need to ask this question: what do you have? Because you can only earn with what you have. So you might need to get in touch with yourself concerning this. When the woman came to the prophet, instead of giving her what she expected, the prophet asked her, "What do you have?" And I'm asking you the same question today. What do you have? When you pray for financial freedom, you need to seek the answer to this question: what do you have, or what do I have that could launch me from debt to wealth? This principle is also very important. Now, the prophet, of course, initially said she had nothing. It's not possible to have nothing to offer. God usually will not have you without something to help you move you from where you are to where He wants you to be. Of course, when the woman was asked, "What do you have?" she said, "Nothing." Many a times we do not count valuable what God has given to us. And that particular thing that we have in our possession is actually enough to take us from death to wealth. It's just that we have not considered it. A good story that came to mind is that of Agar and Ishmael. You remember when they were out of water and the woman cried that the child is going to die from thirst and all that. And Bible says that God opened her eyes, and she saw that there was a well around her all along the time she has been thirsty and was like, it's time to die. There was a well there all along. So many a times the solution to our financial struggles, we have possession of the solution and the resource that we need. It's just that we have not opened our eyes, or we have not conceived or seen the value in that thing that that we have. So probably I think your prayers should change, that God should open your eyes to see what you have that can actually take you from debt to wealth. All right. So let's go to the sixth point, or to the sixth key. What you have is enough. Go eat. Do you know why many people are poor? It's not because they have nothing to offer, but because they don't value what they have to offer. Don't you think that this is important? Many a times, in fact, many times, the reason why people are actually poor is not because they have nothing to offer, but because they don't value what they have. Imagine the key to breaking free from poverty is already within your reach. You just need to identify it, grow it, and multiply it. This is important. Three steps there. You need to identify it, you need to grow it, and you need to multiply it. Look at the story we're considering. If the woman had been told that a small jar of oil was the solution to her problem, she wouldn't have believed it. Imagine that all along that they have been broke and poor, this jar of oil had always been with them, even before her husband died, because they didn't value that jar of oil. The oil might seem small, but it has the potential to multiply just like a seed. You need to identify your seed. The seed, it has the potential to become a forest. If you just see a seed like just a seed, let's say a seed of beans, for example, you just see that single grain and you were like, what's this? This no is of no value to me. I can't sell this. What's this worth? You wouldn't understand that that seed can actually be turned to a forest. So for that woman, they have a jar of oil all along with them. They have it with them, and that was the solution to their financial struggles. But they didn't value it. So what you have is actually enough. All you need to do is to identify that particular thing that you have. You need to grow that particular thing that you have, because it's actually enough for you. What you are looking for outside is actually in you. The solution you are looking out for is in you. The oil is within you. It is that small idea you have been overlooking. Nurture the idea, and it will lead to even bigger ideas. Ideas build upon one another. Ask many businesses that succeeded. Many a times they started out with nothing and with a small idea. And if you don't start with that small idea, better ideas would not come, would not follow. So when you start on one, the second comes in and all that. But if you refuse to start with that small idea, imagine many businesses that starts with a form of business, that's not what they are even doing probably 10 years from now, or probably they are now bigger in that small thing that they started. So what you have is actually enough. All you need to do is to grow that thing that you have. The whole, just like the story that we're considering, could be a relationship. As I said, don't ask for money from a relationship. Instead, offer to serve the relationship. and the money that you want will definitely follow. And not just even money, there are some things money cannot buy, and that will be part of the compensation when you invest in that relationship. That means you value the oil that you have. It could also be a skill that you picked while growing up with your parents, just like the story of the man that ended up, in the palm oil production. He only started from, yeah, what he saw with his parents. He was manually producing palm oil with his grandmom, and that was what turned to millions. You know, turns to millions what company for him. So you might need to consider that too. It could also be your childhood dream or fantasy. It could be a gift that you haven't considered valuable. I know someone who is actually broke but talented in music. And anytime I see him, I thought to myself, if only he understood that he has everything he needs to lift himself out of debt. What you have is enough. Grow it. Thank you for joining me once again today. Find your work, unlocking your paths to impact, fulfillment, and worthy compensation. You can just scan the QR code. It will take you to the page where you can get a copy for yourself. You can as well subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me once again, and thank you for listening. Thank you.